So good morning to every one of you. Ci sono molto italiani oggi, ma non posso farlo in italiano. So I will continue in English. Mi piace molto parlare italiano, ma è veramente difficile per me fare la presentazione così. So I'm pleased to be here to talk about social representation theory from a structural viewpoint, and more precisely from a methodological point of view. My presentation will address the structural approach to social representation. However, as Patrick pointed out this morning, keep in mind that these approaches are interconnected, and it is essential to work within the spirit of interconnection and to break down the boundaries between the various models of social representation. So, first of all, keep in mind this sentence from Di Giacomo in 1980, which is very important to me and to my way to work with methodologies. Methodological questions are not unrelated to theoretical ones. And I will proceed by formulating some questions and trying to answer them. Okay? So, as you can see, there are many methods produced in the framework of the structural approach.
We want this slide. Everybody needs to take a picture.
So I won't go into methodological detail just yet, but it's worth noting that the structural approach has led to a remarkable number of methods. And one might even wonder, why such an appeal to methods? It's a question that we have to ask ourselves. As this timeline shows, since 1981, different authors have taken up this question and progressively refined it over time. We can classify the methods around three key questions. So, how to identify the content, how to diagnose the structure, and how to identify the nature of the elements composing the representational field. So, as you can see, we can see that each method makes possible and also what it not achieve. Only one method concerning the identification of the content, the diagnosis of the structure, and the identification of the nature. Nature is functional and normative elements in the field of social representations. Only one method, which is a basic cognitive schemes model, is able to answer the three questions. But it's very hard to apply, it's very hard to manage, because it's a very complete model. And I have made the choice of not to present it today because time is running and it's very, very hard to present all the methodologies in the framework of 1 hour.
That's why we will invite you to give an online lecture in the next semester.
And one presentation for each method.
Well, that's your proposal, perfect. But thank you so much.
So, how to collect the content? First question. There are at least two ways to identify the elements that make up a social representation: interviews and associative techniques, whether verbal or non-verbal techniques. And I will focus on associative techniques today, as they are more consistent with the possibility of formulating hypotheses of centrality, about centrality, so the structural status of elements in the framework of the structural approach. Though, as we will see later, these remain hypotheses, and only hypotheses with this kind of methods, and nothing more. So, content, structure hypothesis, and social regulations, hierarchical evocations, method and data analysis. Word association tasks constitute one of the main methods for collecting the content of social representation. It can be supported by a number of large number of studies dealing with various subjects of social representations, whose content has been revealed by verbal associations. So we have written with Pascal Moliner, a book concerning the techniques, associative tasks and technique of verbal association, but it is in French. Artificial intelligence today can provide some good means to translate books. So I can give you the PDF. So two methods are based on this type of task. So we have free associations and hierarchical evocation. So there are some differences a big difference and some differences between the two methods. This method is based on verbal association task. So it consists in associating N words or phrases to the object of representation under study. And we ask participants to order, in the second step, these words or phrases from the more important to the less important. One step, the first step is to associate, the second step is to ordinate, okay? And we can add a third step. We ask participants to rate each answer in order to evaluate its attitude. We do that by using a 7-point Likert scale from -3 absolutely negative to +3 absolutely positive. And we can add today a fourth step when we ask participants to explain the meaning of each answer. So we have published a paper concerning the semantic contextualization. Here, participants are asked to make up a sentence that shows the meaning they give to the words they associate with the inducer. Induced words, it's the answer to an inducer, okay? This helps avoid interpreting for them the meaning of their own association. Sometimes, as with the word work, for example, okay, when it is linked to the social representation of studies, for example, work linked to studies, social representation of studies at the university, the same word can carry different meanings. Still, for a long time, researchers tended to lump these words together. In their thematic analysis, it's a big problem because you are not going to analyze the representation of people, but your own representation. So be careful with this. As a schematic figure, we can ask the participants with the following sentence, please tell us the first 4 words, for example, that come spontaneously to mind concerning energy saving, and they produce the answer A, B, C, D, okay? And the second step is, now please order your answer from the most to the least important. 1 represents the most important words of the 4, and 4 represents the least important words of the 4. And they have to classify, to order the words from 1 to 4. So the first step is linked to free association, because there is no instruction of ordering the words. We can calculate an index of frequency and an index of average rank of appearance. When we take into account, when we consider the second step following the first one, we are in the framework of hierarchical evocations, and we can calculate always the frequency, but the average rank of importance and not appearance. So we have published in 2015 a paper with Lionel Dany, Isabelle Orda-Pileta, concerning the comparison between the two ways between free association and hierarchical evocations. And there are many differences in the diagnosis of the structure. But we don't know today. We can say if free association is better than hierarchical evocations. We don't have the information today. So we have to work again, and we have to, I think, explore the different possibilities with the two methods. But if you use free association, if I use hierarchical evocations on the same object, we can compare our results. It's a big problem when we want to work in several laboratories, for example, on the same object. So now, how to formulate hypotheses concerning the structural stages? We have two indices. Yes.
Before you move to the next, on the problem that you were pointing out of using, similar techniques, one based on hierarchical evocation, association. Don't you think that maybe some of this inconsistency is due to the amount of data that we usually work with, try to explain? When we apply this kind of method, at least my experience, we usually tend to put pre-association at the beginning of the question. And if you are lucky enough, you have, how many questions do we have? 800 questions, 1,000 questions, if you are super lucky, unless you have money to pay for a representative sample. If I compare this kind of data with working, for example, with Valentina Rizzoli using large language model, so using textual data, but taken from scraping data. So here we have, let's say, 1,000 questionnaire, 5 association, 5,000 words. There we have 200,000 words. And the key concept of large language model and of, from the factor analysis with SPAD to large language model is that if you have a huge amount of textual data, then the commonalities will emerge from the co-occurrence of data. So I'm thinking that maybe some inconsistency between the methodology is also due to the amount of data that we use. That maybe if we were able to have 100,000 free association, maybe this inconsistency would be reduced because the variability
Yes, it's
across
less.
individual
Yes.
is absorbed by the amount of data that you have, so that the statistics basically bring forward something more convergent.
Yes, it's a statistic principle. When you have a large number of answers, you have a stability in the phenomenon. Yes, of course.
Can I also ask something? I wanted to ask something because, so for instance, in my project now, we use the free association task without the hierarchical evocation.
Without the ranking step.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you say we have no information to decide which one is best.
Yes.
But isn't hierarchical evocations method better in the way it will still provide the researcher with the results of the free associations? Because you get the first unordered list, and then you get the ordered result. So at least if you're using the structural approach, in my naive opinion, the hierarchical method is necessarily better. It's different if you're coming from a different approach because you might not need that additional information.
I don't know, because you have a different point of view in the literature concerning the cognitive salience of cognitions. We have a debate in cognitive psychology concerning the cognitive salience of the cognitions in mind. And I think we have to ask ourselves one question. We ask participants to order their answer. Okay. They order the answer because they need to order the answer, because it's relevant for them, or participants order the answer because the researcher has asked them to order the answers. So I think we have to create an experimental design when in a condition you can say to the participants you can order your answer, but it's not obligatory. Okay. And another condition, when you let the instruction, the current instruction, and we can compare the two conditions and at least to examine the hypothesis of the subordination of the participants in the phase of collecting data. It's one option. And we can also manipulate another variable concerning the anticipation for the participant to order his answer. So before starting the task, you can say to him, okay, you have to associate n words to the object. And keep in mind that after, you will have to order your responses. And maybe this step of anticipation will allow us to avoid the second step, but we have to show that it's only a hypothesis today. But we have some research and methodology to carry out, and I think my regret today is there is not too much research and methodology. in the past, yes, we have seen this timeline. So, but today there is no more research in methodology, and we need to carry out this kind of research because it's very important for the theoretical aspects. Yes.
No, I mean, you answered somehow because for me it was just when you have the free association task, you still have an order, the order of evocation, and it's an order different of the order of incompetence. And it's also what you said, you just said, how much is different. So when you have a conscious rethinking of the order, that's another data.
And maybe there are many ways to explain the differences between the two tasks. And maybe there are many mechanisms, different mechanisms, and we have to explore and to work again on this question. Because it's very important, it's the basis of our research. So if the result is wrong at the beginning, you have a domino effect. Okay. So we have two indices, average importance and frequency, and we can cross these two indices in order to formulate hypotheses about the structural status of the cognitions associated by the participants. And we, based on the distinction between high and low values relative to these two criteria, a double entry table can be built, and the cell containing the most common elements and those that were mentioned among the first, so low rank or high importance, will be the most salient. The most salient. I think it's very hard to say today that there are central elements. And these elements are then considered as candidates for the central core, and they don't constitute the central core, for sure, with certainty. So this meaning that they have the highest chance of being part of the core, but they are not the core. Then the other elements are generally distributed in the remaining cells, which are also related to a specific status characterizing the elements. For example, contrasted elements zone. It's a contrast between a majority, maybe, and a minority in the group. So, but we don't have any proof of this in empirical studies. So we don't have. It's a theoretical principle from Avric, but we don't have any proof of that. It's just an interpretation of a table. But we have to demonstrate this kind of information today. So there are many researches to carry out, to conduct about this one.
Another problem that we encountered, and I think we saw something on this, is the problem of where to put the threshold.
Yes.
Because here now we are assuming that we put a threshold on the separation between the different zones at the mean. So it's a mean split.
Or median split.
Or median split.
Yes.
But we can have different distribution. So more leptokurtic or also with different distribution work. So using the median or the changes the elements that are in or out certain areas. So the fact that you stress, and I want to stress again, it's not the central core, it's a preliminary step.
Yes, it's
so
a first.
This variation can be considered. So I suspect that this element can be central, but we still need. So it's a first step. No?
Yeah, there are too many problems to formulate a conclusion at this step. And concerning the threshold and the choice that we can make about this threshold, it's a problem concerning also the comparison of the studies because if you take 10% of the population of the sample to establish the threshold for the frequency, and if I say no, for me it's the median frequency or the mean frequency, the average frequency, we cannot compare our results. And we don't have any solution today, but we can work on this too. There is some tracks of research concerning the binomial law, concerning the frequency, but we have to test it. So it's the table with a concrete example. We can go on energy savings. So now how to study the social regulations of the associated content. Here, the most current way used in the structural approach, combined to the socio-dynamic model, is to use the correspondence factor analysis. So, sorry, I'm lost in my paper. So, here we can see that based on the principle of correspondence factor analysis, it's possible to establish differences between groups in the way they associate words to the object. So it's very interesting. But we lost the structural dimension in this analysis. And we have tried to perform correspondences factor analysis on the result obtained by means of attribute challenge technique. It's a centrality test, but it's not relevant, and it doesn't work. So here, as Patrick said before, it's a methodological way which is very interesting to combine the structural model and the sociodynamic model. But we lost the structural dimension, so we have to explore the question and to find a way to integrate the structural status in the correspondence factor analysis. And I think it's just a matter of data coding. And we have to find a coding procedure to integrate the structural status. We have done that with the combination between the Q-sort questionnaire, qualitative sorting questionnaire, and the correspondence factor analysis. We have found a coding procedure, but here is more difficult, I think.
Just for me to check with the student. Correspondence factor analysis, you already encountered this, no? The lecture. Yes, no?
Yeah, it's based on the comparison of the frequencies between words, and it also provides information concerning social encoding, so social regulation, so the difference between man and woman, socioeconomic status, high socioeconomic status and low socioeconomic status, high power, low power, etc., etc. Oh, sorry.
This kind of things. No?
Yes, this kind of analysis, yes. So in the collaborative network that we have created 2 years ago, we have developed an application on RStudio to perform this analysis easily. So I will give you the information at the end of the presentation concerning the collaborative network and the different tools that we have created in order to perform analysis and to calculate indices. It's just it's a big work for us because we have made some tutorials, etc. So I will present you that after. So the advantages of the hierarchical evocation method, well, okay, it's easy to use. It's very easy to use. It's easy for participants. It gives quickly access to a rich corpus of information. It allows you to use this in the same time and for only one data collection to several ways to data analysis. It's very important. For example, the Vergès table with a double entry table, okay? Correspondence factor analysis, computing an attitude score on the basis of the use of Likert scale in the framework of verbal association, the third step. And so there are many ways, okay, to apply data analysis, to perform data analysis from just one time of data collection. So it's very interesting for us. But there are also disadvantages. Thematic reduction made by the researcher without semantic contextualization is problematic. Non-systematic use of the rank of appearance of the importance. It represents a limit in terms of comparability of the studies. There are problems concerning the thresholds. So it allows to formulate only a hypothesis of centrality and implies the problem of the feasibility, access to the population, and implies a second step of data collection. So if you have only a hypothesis, you have to confirm or to invalidate your hypothesis, and it implies to a second step of data collection, and maybe it's hard to access the population a second time. So we have seen the collection of the content, the analysis of the words associated by participants, but we have not studied the connexity property of the element of social representation. And social representation are naive theories. So there are some reasoning. And if there are reasoning, there are connexity between elements to form the reasoning. So the similarity analysis, which was initiated by Claude Flamand in 1962, this analysis is based on the graph theory, and the graph allows to describe a set of objects and their relationships, that is to say the links between the objects. Okay, it's graph theory. The objects are called the apexes of the graph, and the link between two objects is called an edge. A graph is composed of paths allowing to pass from an apex to another or to several others. And the similarity analysis is based on the criterion of connexity, which represents the idea that between two elements of representation, there may be a greater or lesser relationship. This can be assessed by the co-occurrence or the co-appearance of the elements in the verbal production of the subject, for example, speech, interview, responses to a task, or verbal association. And thus, between two cognition, A and B, relationship index can be calculated based on the number of times these two elements have been connected by the participants. And this is known as quantitative connexity. As an example, we can see that recycling here is linked to preserving future generations and linked also to preserving environment, and saving money in the social representation of energy saving is not linked to preserving future generations, etc. So similarity analysis is very interesting in the sense that cognition are interconnected in mind. And we can draw the map of the connections, not concerning an individual, but the group, the social group, and the participants who are forming the social group. So the advantages of this analysis gives a fight insight of the relations between the cognitions, beliefs, allows to identify variations in the organization of the representational field relatively to social practices, level of knowledge, level of personal involvement, socio-demographics variable, etc. There are the existence of several indices, more than 70 indices of similarity. So you have to make your choice, and each in the index refer to an objective. And it can be conducted from questionnaire evocations and Q-sort questionnaires too. For example, if you use Q-sort questionnaire, you have to use the D index, the index of distance. Okay, so the methodology is linked to particular indices. The problems with this analysis, it provides only hypothesis of centrality. We don't have the proof of systematic structural diagnosis. We don't have the proof of that today. It gives only access to the quantitative connexity and not to the qualitative connexity, which is the case in the basic cognitive schemes model. Okay, it's a difference between the two. And it's difficult to proceed to a comparison between the graphs, only interpretative. And it allows to work on the organization and not on the structural status of the elements, thus on the structure. It's quite different. Except in work carried out by Hahn and Jung and Pavlovsky. But we have Anthony Pierre-Matteo from Lille University in France have made some researches concerning the papers published by Jung and Pavlovsky and Hahn and Jung. And he has established that there is always a problem of identification of the structural status in their work. So, because the threshold used is chosen by the researcher, and so it's always hypothesis relatively to this problem of thresholds. So, now, how to diagnose the structure? Sorry.
Can I ask you something on the indexes? Because first I want to say something to them, because maybe some of you has encountered the famous Rateau. No?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the analysis, similarity analysis is there, and also in Rateau I think you can choose between 5, 6, more
indices.
Okay, more indexes. But I couldn't find an easy reference to orient myself among the different indexes. So I don't know if...
There is written down.
Yeah, no, but you say it's more than 70 indexes, etc. So I was wondering if
Maybe in Flamand articles, maybe
back to the
I can, yes.
because in the Ilamotech you have some clarification how it is computed, etc.
Try to
Boumediene worked on similarity analysis. Tu as une idée d'un texte qui recenserait tous les indices de similarité?
Yes, it was a work from Pierre Vergès.
Ah, Vergès.
It wasn't a published work.
Ah, ok.
I have it if you're interested.
It would be interesting to have it. It would be interesting to,
Oui, ça l'intéresse.
to have this, because I read something by Vergès, but there is always problem.
Need to present the project of the team of itself, where you can find all the methodologies and sources that are
Le projet qu'on est en train de construire là, l'analyse de similitude n'est pas concernée pour l'instant. Ouais. We have not already included similarity analysis in the project, so but it will.
There are many.
The project is in progress, so.
And I agree with Greg, you have to check
All the indices.
Yeah, to know how, which one you have to use.
Yeah, because it gives rise to different configuration, and you have to make a choice. But your choice is, I think, the choice must be guided by theoretical aspects and statistical theoretical aspects. So, how to diagnose the structure when we have previously collected the content? So, attribute, challenge, technique. There are many ways to translate in English the original name of this technique, because in French is la technique de mise en cause. And there are many ways in the literature to rename in English this technique, but attribute challenge technique, I think it's the most current. Because we can find two calling into questions technique, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And the test of context independence. So I will present only the attribute challenge technique because it's the same principle with the test of context independence. The difference is that the test of context independence is easier for participants concerning the formulation of the instruction. There is no double negative in the test of context independence. So it was developed by Moliner, and the ACT, the attribute challenge technique, was the first method to provide a systematic diagnosis of social representation structure. It is based on the symbolic property of the core elements, so assignment of meaning to the object of representation as a whole. Okay. And these elements are essential to, or non-negotiable, according to Moscovici, to define the object. Without them, it loses its meaning, and it is then impossible for individuals to recognize the object. Consequently, this technique tests the non-negotiable characteristic of representational elements. Widely used, it has been considered as the most effective way to reveal the structure of social representation. This was said by Flamand in 2001. But Flamand has also said that it was very, very hard to understand the questions in the framework of the attribute challenge technique. Okay. So it is based on the double negative principle, it can determine whether the lack of a link between the representational element and the object of representation is unacceptable or acceptable. Okay. If the absence of the link between the element and the object of representation proves to be unacceptable to the majority of participants, then this means that the element is non-negotiable for the definition of the object and is therefore central. At the opposite, it is peripheral. So, as an example, in your opinion, can we say that a behavior corresponds with energy saving if this behavior do not allow to preserve the environment? If there is a majority of no responses, we can conclude that preservation of the environment is an aspect for participants implied in the way they think energy savings. And if we say, in your opinion, we can say that a behavior corresponds with energy saving if this behavior do not allow to save money. In this case, one can think that the participant will say yes, because, okay, it can be energy saving without saving money. So, thus the preservation of the environment and money savings have not the same status for the participants in their way to think the energy savings. Concretely, responses are collected by means of a 4-point ordinal scale, such as the following one, which includes 2 acceptance level and 2 refutation level, okay? 2 acceptation, so okay, it corresponds to, so it is peripheral. No, it certainly not correspond to, so it is central. Some criticism have been formulated concerning this technique because it's very hard to understand. So if you want to try to work with children, it is very, very, very difficult to investigate with this kind of technique. And we have some problems too with the scale, because we have a 4-point scale. And Dani and Apostolidis in 2007 have demonstrated that if you use a 4-point scale or a 5-point scale, you don't have the same diagnosis of the structure. So it's a problem. But the problem is going to be resolved because Patrick has developed a new technique for identifying the structure of social representation. It is a degree of centrality, conceptualized as a continuous model, not a dichotomous model, central from peripheral to central, so a degree of centrality. And we have to carry out this research. It is in our bag, and we think that the degree of centrality as a continuous measure will respond to the critics concerning the number of modalities on the scale. So it will be, we hope, a bad, just a bad step for the theory. But no, we have to demonstrate it. So research is in progress concerning this aspect. It's the reason why I have not presented the degree of centrality, because it's not my research. It's the research of Patrick. It's Patrick's research. I'm not a thief. No, it's just a joke, but we want to be sure before presenting the results. So, here is a schematic representation of the technique. So you have the formulation of the instruction for ACT. In your opinion, can an activity be considered as energy saving if it does not give rise to preserving natural resources, etc. And you have the same formulation with test of context independence. In your opinion, is energy savings an activity that always involves, in all cases, preserving natural resources? So it's easier for participants to answer this kind of question compared to the formulation of the attribute challenge technique with double negative, which is very, very, very hard to understand. So we have demonstrated in 2008 that there is higher perceived cognitive cost with attribute challenge technique compared to the test of context independence. We have measured the cognitive cost. The perceived cognitive cost is quite different. So here we can identify the structure of the social representation and distinguish the central from the peripheral elements. So it's very interesting for that. We can also shed the light on the fact that we encounter some problems concerning the threshold too, because there are many ways to establish a cut between the values for central elements and the values for peripheral ones. But there is, today, there is a consensus concerning the Kolmogorov-Smirnov, the DMAX, and the DMAX test of Kolmogorov-Smirnov, which is quite interesting. But there is a problem because if you have, for example, 400 participants, the cut to consider an element as central is 92%. So it's very high. And with the degree of centrality, the new technique in progress, the aim of the technique is to examine the hierarchy between the elements. And this is avoid the problem of the threshold of the cut, of the cutoff. So, okay, how to analyze data collected by means of attribute challenge technique and test of context independence. We have 4 information. From the beginning, the threshold of 75% was adopted by Flamand. Equifrequency with the chi-square test, an element is central if its percentage of refutation significantly differs from 50%, but I think there is a problem with this cutoff because it's different, okay, from 50%, but structural approach is based on consensus effect. So it's not 50%, maybe 100%. So certain work compared the frequency of refutation to a norm of 75%. It's very rare. And finally, the Kolmogorov-Smirnov test, in order to identify the threshold beyond which the proportion of frequencies does not significantly differ from 100%. It's very coherent with the theory. So keep in mind that methodological questions are not unrelated to theoretical ones. So the advantages concerning the attribute challenge technique, it has allowed the identification of structure in the framework of several studies. It allows an important insight, simple to use, and implies a reduced number of participants, maybe 40, 50 participants. That's enough. The disadvantages, the double negative is annoying for everyone. It presents inconvenience for understanding. It was our criticism concerning this technique. And there are variations in terms of centrality diagnosis function to the number of modalities. So you have 2 publications, 2 articles concerning this aspect. So the problem is to make a choice between these methodologies, because there is a large number of methodologies. So we have established a decision tree. So it's a proposition. So this decision tree was published in the GTSB 8 years ago. And we think that we can decide with 3 questions: what you can use, the step and the order, okay, and what you can highlight. So if you want to know the content of a social representation, you can use rank frequency or importance frequency, and it gives rise to prototypical analysis. And it allows to access the centrality hypothesis, and it can be tested by means of a structural diagnosis. Okay, so a second step. So it involves a second step. If you already know the content and you want to identify the structure, you can use a BCS model, the attribute challenge technique, and the test of context independence. These methodologies provide a structural diagnosis with the problem concerning the threshold, etc. You already know the content if you want to identify the organization between the elements of social representation. You can use a similarity analysis to access to both the relationship between the element of social representation and centrality hypothesis. If you already know the relationship between the elements of social representation, you want to identify the nature of these relationships, you have to use a BCS model. There is no other model taking account this kind of information, or providing you the possibility to identify the nature, functional, normative elements, etc. And you already know the content and the structure, and you want to identify the nature of central elements of social representation, you can use a BCS model. So, as you can see, the BCS model is a more complete technique, method we can use in the framework of the structural approach, but it's very hard to develop researches with this kind of tool. Patrick has carried out many researches with the basic cognitive schemes model, and he can be the witness of the difficulty to carry out research with this kind of model. So, for now, I would like to I'd like to share with you a project that will be coming to life in the next few months. It's a collaborative platform which will take the form of a website. So it is developed by 6 researchers, Pascal Molinaire from University of Montpellier, Anthony Rateau from Lille University, Patrick Rateau from University of Montpellier, Jean-Louis Tavani from University of Paris 8 of Paris, Sylvain Delouvet from the University of Rennes, in Britain, and myself. So it is called cerise. Cerise in French is a fruit which corresponds to cherry in English. Okay, so that's why you can see a cherry. Okay.
Cerase in Napolitan.
Yeah.
In Napolitan, it's cerase.
Terasa. Okay. So it's a collaborative information on social representation. So Cerise is a website. You can come with me because it's also your project. It's a website created by researchers from different French universities, as you can see, aims at providing resources dedicated to the study of social representations, bibliographic references, tools, and methodological tutorials. Among the main resources of this project, an open access book offers an updated overview of the structural approach to social representation and its method and its application. So the book is in progress. It will be an open access book, free, so free. Why it is free? Because we wanted to update by ourselves the book, and we don't want to be dependent of an editor, on an editor, and we have decided to keep our freedom, our liberty, to develop the project and not to be the target of the constraints of the editors. Okay, and it is free because, as you know, we earn a few money with books. So we have decided to offer the book, and it's quite simple for everyone. Bon.
Yes, no, and it's a manner and a way to disseminate worldwide without implicated that colleagues pay, and it is very difficult for some countries to have access to some books, and this is our will to offer this opportunity to read some chapters on theoretical and methodological aspects in social representations worldwide, without any fees or any payments.
So it's costless. And although several books in English present the theory of social representation, that's true. There is no up-to-date synthesis in English concerning the structural approach to social representation and its method. Moreover, few, if any, methodological tutorials are available online, and these observations are the origin of this project. So here the book, there will be a free open access book, and whenever a methodological section or a specific method is mentioned, it will be linked to a video tutorial, okay, showing how to do it. This tutorial will also include data sets so people can better understand and practice the analysis. Tutorials on how to build questionnaire will also be available. And the book will be free and regularly updated and open to contributors too. Okay. Open to contributors. I repeat. Open to contributors. Okay. Thank you. Okay, and this means that whenever the theory evolves, new content will be added to the book along with a tutorial. So we are also asked to provide a tutorial with a methodological section, for example, a new methodological section. The idea is to create through this platform a network of researchers sharing practical tools for studies on social representation. So I think it will be very, it fits the Euro PhD and the intentions of the Euro PhD. It fits with that. So it will be a toolbox in the website. Some tutorials are already available. We've also built automated tools for correspondence factor analysis in RStudio, generally R, and RStudio specifically, but it works on R. And an interface for handling verbal association, which I'm about to show you. So this was created specifically by Sylvain Delouvet, this one. So I can show you a test. So you have, okay. Sorry. The test.
There was the EVOC program a long time ago, and it's developed now in the AIR platform.
Sorry?
I don't know if this question has any sense, but there was the EVOC program a long time ago,
Oh, yes.
and it's
No, it's a new program. It's not on air. It's an application on the web. Just an application. But we have some macros in Excel, which was one was developed by Pascal Moliner. We are at the version 2, and it works well. But the program EVOC analysis is very complete. You will see if it works.
Si tu arrêtes le diaporama et que tu reviens.
Il faut que je chope le lien.
If I may ask, there was also that other.
Okay.
There was also that other free software, DTM Vic.
Sorry?
DTM Vic, that was developed by the. It was an open source.
I don't have.
I don't know if it exists anymore, but
It's still accessible, but not
not updated.
Okay.
But it was interesting because also basically he redeveloped the same algorithm on SPAD when it was bought by and put under copyright by CCL, and it also added some feature like kind of bootstrapping.
The bootstrapping. Okay.
Bootstrapping of
Okay.
correspondence analysis.
Okay.
Okay. And I will tell you.
Okay. It's very interesting because bootstrapping is very interesting to
It's a way to
establish
test the stability, no?
the stability and the robustness of the results. So you are at the moment it's in French, but it will be developed for sure in English later. Okay. So begin the analysis. Commencer l'analyse. Begin analysis. The beginning of the analysis. So you have to browse and you have to take an Excel, for example, okay? And you have a preview of data automatically, below. And you have to select the columns that you want to analyze. So here the 4 words, because the 5th column is already calculated. Okay, so the format and launch analysis. Oh, sorry. You can clean data also to minuscule, to suppress spaces, to suppress punctuation, and to normalize the special characters. And you can proceed to a linguistic normalization too, to correct the orthograph, to proceed to a lemmatization, and to suppress the empty words. You can suppress the double, the repetitions, okay, in the corpus. So to suppress the repetitions, sensitivity to the cast, to the, I don't know in English. So it's when you take into account the globality of the word or the specificity, if there is a majuscule, bold characters, etc.
Is a big A or a small A?
Yes, that's correct. And you can use the tool of word transformation when you want to reduce your corpus with a thematic analysis. And you have a tool here which allows it. It's very interesting tool, this one. So, sorry.
There is to reduce, to find the synonyms.
Yeah, synonyms or thematic reduction based on the semantic analysis. Yes. So you can access the general indices. So you have 281 participants, 816 evocations, so etc., etc. Unique evocations, different evocations, the index of rarity index, and the consensus index. You can access the diversity indexes, diversity index, the entropy, the Shannon entropy, and the Simpson index. And you can download the results, okay, in the PDF format, okay, PDF format. You can go on. So you have a table of the evocations with the top 10 evocations with frequency and average rank. And you have here the evocation, the frequency, the average rank, and the prototypicality, the index of prototypicality. For each word, you can continue to have the list, okay, the entire list. So it's cool. It's very, very fast. So you have to know what you are doing. It's a basis. But if you know that, you can...
the index?
Sorry?
The third index. Okay, so you have frequency rank and prototypicality is...
The prototypicality is... It's the representativity of the item in the list. So when you have the more the term is frequent and is the more is in the low rank of appearance or low rank of importance, the more is a prototypical item.
Computing from the
yes, but we can give the formula to everyone. So you can go on, and you have the double entry table, which is schematized by a double axis figure, okay? Because it's a case, you have two indices, it's a double dimension model, reality. And here you have the...
I just wanted to use the
okay.
Le premier bouton, en haut, un peu plus haut. Yes.
Thank you. Here you have the hypothesis of centrality, okay? And you can change the thresholds, like in Iramutech, the same thing. And you have the contrasted elements and peripheral, first periphery and second periphery. Je pense que là, ça marche plus. C'est pas encore développé ça. And you can map. You can also have a mapping of the co-occurrences, but it crashes. So it's still in progress, and we want to offer a package with the correspondence factor analysis too, but it's not on the same software, so quite difficult for the moment. But it will be available, I think, next year. It's possible, I think. And tutorials are still in progress, but we hope to give access to the website in a few months, maybe in November or December, with some tutorials and a big part of the book. Yeah. So, thank you for your attention. Are you angry? Not angry, hungry. Je pense qu'ils ont faim.
Can't wait for the software and for the book.
Ah, the book, okay. Yeah.
For both.
I think October or November for the book, for the first part.
Of course, when it's ready, if you want to circulate, and
Yes.
if you like,
Of course.
also we can add, for example, a link on the website also
Yeah.
in order to point to this resource,
Thank you.
if it makes sense,
Yes, it makes sense for us. So,
also for the connection that we have.
And for us it's-
in Brazil or.
and for us, it's very important that this kind of tool will be present on the interface of the Euro PhD, because it concerns the majority of people working on social representation. So for us, it's important that the tool will be used, because it's a lot of work for us.
And we have to be ready to present the whole structure on the
next conference
in Merida.
with the totality of the website.
The next conference that will be in
Mexico.
Yucatan.
Yeah, Yucatan.
Yucatan in 2 years.
In 2 years, yes.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah. In 27.
If I may, I just add the comment, maybe also, because I think some of our students are working on questionnaire and on very quantitative approach. Others are following more critical or qualitative and different version.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is an assumption in most of your presentation related to the possibility to, for example, replicate the results or to the validity. So that the classic measure that we have in psychology that shows
Yes.
that a good measure
To reinforce the
validity.
Yes.
Now, since they are shy today or sleepy, I don't, some of them are taking very different angles, so that criticize the epistemology behind this. So I wonder,
It's not.
what is your
Yes.
position? I mean, do we, because this resonates a lot with more mainstream approach. This is one of the advantage, in my opinion, of the structural perspective. do we still need this? How can we relate with other epistemology? Are
Yes.
they compatible?
But we can be constructivist. Oh, sorry. We can be constructivist while adopting not a positive position from epistemological point of view, but just a rigor in data analysis. Just a rigor, just to provide robustness to our reasons. Because if we have to concede to advise some people about something concerning an object, we have to give guarantees concerning the results obtained in the framework of our research. So we work not in a mainstream approach, but we are interested in the question of the validity of our tools. For us, it's very important. And we have grown in an experimental condition, because in Aix-en-Provence and in Montpellier, we have done our PhD in Montpellier in Aix-en-Provence. Sorry? Oh, sorry. We have done our PhD for Patrick in Montpellier and myself in Aix-en-Provence. Patrick with Rouquette and myself with Guimeli. So you can escape from experimentation. So it's our background. But I keep one thing from the experimentation. I keep several things, but one thing is the rigor and the seriousness of the procedure. And I think it's not mainstream. It's just scientific rigor. And it's my point of view. And it's my way to work on social representation. But I am also interested in qualitative studies. But we can do some serious work with qualitative tools, qualitative methodologies. And as we said before outside, there are many papers published in European Journal of Social Psychology, which was very mainstream journal in Europe, on social representation using qualitative methods, because there are serious work with qualitative methods. So I think we have to combine qualitative and quantitative in the perspective of triangulation methodology. D'accord?
Yeah.
You agree with me? Okay. Have a good lunch. And thank you for your attention.